I mean, training camp just started, right? Just a few days ago. And players are already dropping faster than a PBR at a NASCAR race. But what does that do to your 2019 fantasy football draft strategy? We're talking about that now. What's going on, Headliner Nation? Jake, Fantasy Headliners. Hopefully you guys are all doing well out there. Welcome back to the Draft.com studios, where today we're talking training camp. Now, when you see this long list of names on the side of the screen, you'd think that training camp would have been going for weeks by now. But it's only been going for days. We have camp battles we weren't expecting. We have some serious injuries, some not so serious injuries, but we need to pay attention to them here throughout the offseason. Not going to waste a whole lot of time. We're going to get into this list really quick. Before we do, after this video is over, if you have a few extra minutes, go check out our website, thefantasyheadliners.com. A lot of other great information over there, not just in video form. If you're looking for some other articles and information, we got you covered over there also. Plus, our draft guide is for sale for only $19.99. You can see the Alvin Kamara jersey hanging over my shoulder. We're going to give it away to somebody who purchases a draft guide all the way up through August 15th. So if you've purchased a draft guide or you purchased one up until August 15th, you will be automatically entered to win that autographed jersey. Looking forward to giving that away to somebody here in Headliner Nation. But for now, let's talk about a few things going on in training camp. All right, let's kick it off with Theo Johnson, running back, Detroit Lions. And this name has been a very, very popular one over the last few days. I mean, is it really time? Is it time that Theo Johnson gets his opportunity in Detroit? I know his career has not been going on for very long, but it was really skeptical coming into this season whether they were really going to give him a full workload. Now, I've said in past videos that I wasn't really all on board this train, this hype train of Theo Johnson, until they released Theo Riddick. Well, that happened. I mean, Theo Riddick is now no longer in town. So now can we honestly say that Kerryon is firmly the passing down running back in Detroit, and that will boost his value even if he does lose a few carries at times to CJ Anderson. So now what? Theo Riddick leaves behind only 40 rushing attempts, so that's really not going to help a whole lot. But it's the 74 targets in the passing game that we really need to pay attention to. Riddick has had over 730 yards from scrimmage 3 out of the last 4 seasons in Detroit. We know the Lions defense hasn't been elite since ever. It hasn't been an elite defense, and that will force the passing game to be a full 4-quarter game plan. Riddick averaged 5 targets per game last season, Kerryon just behind him with just under 4 targets per game in the 10 games that he played. Now, Kerryon's increased usage from this could be absolutely huge. I mean, he's climbing up the rankings and will now find himself right around the top 15 running backs going in the first 3 rounds of your fantasy football draft. Yes, I still think CJ Anderson is somewhat involved in this offense, but now this added aspect, these added targets that Theo Johnson will see in the passing game throughout the season is enough to really counteract those carries that CJ Anderson may take away. I'm all on board the Theo Johnson hype train now. I'm not going to reach for him in drafts, but if he's sitting there end of the third, I'm all on it. All right, let's move on to the Cincinnati Bengals. Now talk wide receiver A.J. Green showing up on the injury report, and are we surprised? Nope. Why? Because it's A.J. Green showing up on an injury report, and he left injured the very first day of Bengals camp with an apparent lower leg injury that is now being reported as just a low ankle sprain, so nothing serious. But at the time, if you've seen the video, he went up for a 50-50 ball, came down a little awkward. I mean, it was nothing, gruesome or made us think that it was something super serious, but he was visibly frustrated as they were carting him off the field. I mean, he gave the impression anyway that it was a lot more serious than they're reporting right now. It's something we definitely need to pay attention to. But this is A.J. Green. And if we know anything, it's that the dude has what you would call a little bit of an injury past with foot and toe issues. One thing is for sure, though. I wouldn't expect to see a whole lot of A.J. Green the rest of the offseason. They're going to want to rest him, get him back to 100% hopefully, and they're not going to want to risk re-injuring it even worse than it is now. Even if he's good to go by week 1, he could get off to a little bit of a slow start, not getting that opportunity to go through training camp and get those reps. This is enough to kind of scare me off A.J. Green in my fantasy football drafts, depending where he falls. He was still a decent value right now in the 3rd round. However, with this injury, it's gonna make a lot of people worry once again. Is A.J. Green going to have another one of those seasons where he just can't stay healthy? I'm not entirely off the A.J. Green bandwagon, but now I'm not even looking to draft him until the mid to late 4th round at the absolute earliest. Moving on to the New York Giants now in their wide receiver group, whatever they have left in the wide receiver group at this point. I mean, what is going on in New York? Is it something in the water? Do we need to, block off their training camp from anybody pass catching related? Because if they step onto that field, they're getting hurt. I mean, first it was Sterling Shepard. He breaks his thumb. All right, bad things happen. It sucks, but it is what it is. Don't worry. Corey Coleman will step up, take his place for those few weeks. We won't feel a thing. Well, Corey Coleman tears his ACL. He's done for the year. All right, we'll be okay. We still have Evan Ingram. We have Golden Tate. We're going to be good. Well, now Golden Tate's facing a possible 4-game suspension for performance-enhancing drugs because he took some fertility medication. Now, we already talked about Coleman being done for the year. Sounds like Tate won't be there for the first 4 weeks. They're saying there's a small chance that Sterling Shepard is good to go by week 1, but that's something they're going to have to take on a week-to-week basis. It's an injury that takes 4 to 8 weeks to heal. I would at least like to say, hey, Shepard broke his finger because Daniel Jones was out there looking great, just throwing missiles. But instead, I can't say that. Daniel Jones looks like he's just someone who licks windows on his off days. He is nowhere near starting quarterback level and may not be for a couple of years. So now we have Eli Manning with no wide receiving weapons. That sounds cool. I mean, it could all be up to rookie Darius Slayton to make an impact. He's for sure worth a late round flyer in your fantasy football leagues. I mean, we've talked about him in a previous episode. Do the Giants go out now and maybe look at a free agent wide receiver like a Michael Crabtree? I mean, he's not going to be the savior, but they have to throw somebody out there. What really worries me is how much does this hurt Saquon Barkley? Because no defense, the defenses don't have to worry about anybody on the outside, right? There's no resemblance of a passing game outside of Evan Ingram right this second. I mean, Barkley actually may fall to running back 4 in my rankings because of this. The defenses are going to be able to key on him alone. They're going to try to put pressure on Eli Manning. This could get ugly really, really quick in New York. They need to make something happen. Somebody needs to step up because right now, the Giants are in serious, serious trouble. Derrick Henry, next up on the list, running back Tennessee Titans. He left the first day of training camp and was spotted in a walking boot on his left foot. Now, no news of a serious injury here at all, but this is a slight cause for concern until we hear more information. Now, more than likely, the Titans are just being extra cautious and want him to be good to go for the season. They're not going to rush him back out there in training camp just to get it injured worse. I would expect him to get plenty of rest here over the next few weeks. If no major injury is found, this could actually be something good for you on draft day in fantasy football. With the news going around of an injury and maybe people aren't going to see him in preseason games, his ADP was already at the end of the 3rd round. This could push him into the 4th round, which makes him even more of a pick, of a value pick in your fantasy football draft. I'm not worried about him yet. Let's see what news comes out here in the coming days. But this actually could really work out for a lot of fantasy football teams out there. You may get Derrick Henry in the 4th round now, which is huge value. There was a collective gasp of air at Thursday's Atlanta Falcons practice as Calvin Ridley was seen reaching for his hamstring early during the practice. Now, a lot of reports are already coming out saying that they're just being cautious with him, but he hasn't been on the field since that happened. They're saying there is a chance that he could be on the field here within the next week or so. This is actually a good thing for Calvin Ridley. It happened early. They're going to give him the opportunity to rest and get up to 100% before the season starts, so don't panic yet. It's something we need to monitor here for the next coming weeks. If he's sitting out the next 2 or 3 weeks and we're in week 3 of the preseason and we still haven't seen Calvin Ridley, then we can start panicking just a little bit. But right now, looks just precautionary, not too overly concerned about it yet. The last thing you want, though, is the Falcons rushing him back out there, having him injured worse, and missing the start of the season. So don't panic yet. Let's just hope it was just a mild tweak of the hamstring and that Calvin Ridley will be good to go by week 1. Leonard Fournette's name actually came up this week as a possible injury in training camp, but that sounds like it was nothing more than a fake story just to get people talking and riled up. He was at practice today and even seen doing footwork drills with the offensive line. No, he's not playing offensive line. He's just out there trying to improve his foot speed. He's another name that could continue to see his ADP rise throughout the offseason. If that happens, he may be somebody that gets a little bit too expensive. There's a lot of risk still surrounding Leonard Fournette, but let's pay attention to it. If he goes through training camp, through the preseason games, and looks 100% healthy, he may creep up into that late 2nd round, and depending how he looks throughout the preseason, could offer some value. However, I like him a lot more if I can get him in the 3rd or the 4th. Steelers wide receiver Donte Moncrief making a huge splash so far in training camp. A lot of people talking about him, and so far, he's been the number 2 wide receiver opposite of Juju. Juju looking like an absolute monster in training camp so far. But Donte Moncrief is a huge value right now, still going in the double-digit rounds of your fantasy football drafts. There's a lot of people that hate on Donte Moncrief, and I really don't understand why. The fact remains he's still young. He's only 25 years old. Just because you think he's been in the NFL for 15 years, he hasn't. He's a young guy still, and now he finds himself in a high-powered passing offense looking for pass-catching weapons. Perfect opportunity for Donte Moncrief. Depending on when your fantasy football draft is, he could be an absolute steal late in drafts. Don't forget about Donte Moncrief. Lastly, the Miami Dolphins in their backfield of Kalen Ballage and Kenyon Drake. And this may be one of the biggest head scratchers so far here in training camp. What is going on with this backfield? I mean, Ballage has open practice every day as the number one running back, at least the first guy on the field. But head coach Brian Flores, he's already come out and said, hey, just because Ballage was on the field first doesn't mean he's our number one guy. Now, it's obvious that Drake is the better back. It's obvious to everybody, maybe everybody except for Brian Flores. Maybe they're just trying to see what they have with Kalen Ballage. What kind of role could they fit him into? They're giving him all the opportunity with the ones to really give him that chance, because maybe if he's constantly stuck there with the twos and the threes, if he's standing out, he's not getting that superior competition. Let's see how he does against the number one defense. Maybe that's all this is. They're really trying to slot him in to a role in this offense. I mean, it's obvious that Drake is the better running back, and even if Ballage ends up stealing goal line carries from time to time, the more efficient running back, the more efficient yard producer in this offense is Kenyon Drake. He's capable of playing all three downs, and the cream will always rise to the top. Kenyon Drake is the better running back in this offense. He will see the bulk of the work throughout the season. I'm not buying the whole Kalen Ballage taking the job, being the number one, getting the bulk of the carry work in Miami. I'm not buying it. There's just no way that Kenyon Drake and what he's done up until now is any cause for him to lose any work. All right, those were a few of the big names here in the news here to start off training camp that have already had some injuries or some training camp battles. It's something we're going to keep an eye on, and we're going to be doing this every single week. So make sure you hit that subscribe button. Football is here. We now have something to talk about on a weekly basis all the way through almost February. I mean, there is a ton of football coming up, so make sure you hit that subscribe button. We greatly appreciate that support. We got you covered all year long. If you have any questions, comments, you want to know something about another player, put it down in the comment section down below. We are, if not the most interactive channel out there on YouTube. We respond to every comment, every question on every video. It's what we do here. We're trying to build that community, and we want you to be a part of it. If you're new here, let us know down in the comment section. We would love to welcome you to Headliner Nation personally. But for right now, you guys have a great rest of your day. Enjoy some football. We'll talk to you later.